Educate created a platform where parents, school leaders, teachers, administrators, and other educational stakeholders coming together to chart the right path for education in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. So today we are presenting school leadership using evidence to manage change in a pandemic. And we have experts here as our panelists to take us through an insightful discussion on various subtopics. Here we have Mrs. Abose Delaja. She is the Permanent Secretary, Lagos State Ministry of Education. She'll be taking us on how parents, that's Mrs. Abosede, welcome ma'am.
Thank you very much.
On how parents can manage homeschooling effectively in Nigeria and all over the world. We also have here with us Dr. Mrs. Ireremena Felix Otuorimwa. Okay, I can actually see Mrs. Funto Augusto. You're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, I can see Mrs. Olufunko Yetola. You're welcome, ma'am, from the Ministry of Education.
Hello, sis.
Hello, madam.
Hello, sis.
Good to see you. Good
How are you?
You're welcome, ma'am.
I'm glad to be online. Thank you.
We are privileged to have you online. Thank you so much. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So we have Dr. Ireremena Felix Otuorimwa. She holds a PhD in the Education Leadership, University of Nottingham.
Hi, Master.
Hi. You're welcome, Mrs. Felix Otuorimwa. He resides in the US. She will take us on a topic on how can education consultants manage change in a pandemic and post-pandemic. Then we have a Mrs. Funto Augusto. You're welcome, ma'am. You're welcome, ma'am. Good to have you here. Mrs. Funto Augusto is a child educator and education consultant whose experience spans over 40 years. Wow. You're welcome. Good to have you here, ma'am. She started from the classroom, teaching, to senior management roles, then to headship position. She's been around for a long time. 40 years is no joke. You're welcome. She's currently practicing as a consultant, education consultant, and is on several school startup projects. For school owners that are here, you can get in touch with Mrs. Augusto, and then you know that your school will be turned around for good.
Amen.
So she's also serving on several school boards, most of which she was part of the project startup. She started up with them. She started the project with them. Most of them she's still working with. She's a professed lifelong learner. That means she learns every day. You know, learning, there's no end to learning until the day we go home. We learn by the day. So, and she prides herself in remaining current and relevant on the cutting edge of 21st education initiatives. So she'll be taking us on what school leaders need to be effective and efficient in this current type of pandemic on the now. So we have this panelist, and then we have my CEO, Mr. Stevenson. He will come in sometime during the discussion. So we are here, and I have seen a lot of school people, school owners. I've seen a lot of teachers and administrators online here. And once again, I say we are welcome to this webinar. We are in a time where school children are home. So in response to this COVID-19 pandemic, school leaders and schools are all struggling to manage change. And we know that change is never easy. Change is always difficult. And then when it's normal, not to talk of now that is abnormal. So there are challenges to changes schools are facing because people do not accept change initially. So today I am going to call on Mrs. Adelaja to take us on how parents can manage homeschooling effectively. Mrs. Adelaja, please.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Today is indeed a special day for all of us, that we are here again to learn. As it has been earlier mentioned, learning is continuous, and until we go down the grave, we continue to learn. So I'm glad to.
I think we've lost you, ma'am.
I'm still online.
Okay.
I'm online. Can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
So today I'm going to talk on how can parents manage all over the world. Pandemic has locked everybody, businesses, churches, everywhere. So as we all know, parents are the first teachers, children. Now everybody is locked down. Thank God for that privilege of being locked down. And as such, parents are now trying to be at home with these children and oversee their activities. Learning, what is homeschooling? Homeschooling, also known as home education, is that education of children from home or a variety of places other than the formal school. Home education is usually by parents, tutors, online teachers, and etc. And this homeschooling has become the fashion now, let me put it that way, because of the pandemic and schools locked up. The advantage is that when we have school online, it makes learning fun. They are not enclosed in the four walls of school. It is an informal setting, and at the same time, the children are learning. They are in their comfort zone while learning is ongoing. Another advantage is that they spend extra time. Parents spend. What am I trying to say? Even after the online teaching, parents are still opportune. Parents can still follow up these children at home to make sure they master whatever they have been taught, and they are in line.
You mute everybody.
And they are in line with what they have been taught. Apart from that, they are available to do the homework with the children and make sure it is properly done.
Yeah.
The parents provide personal instruction that teachers otherwise will have given to these children in a large classroom, which is no longer possible. It avails children access to other online programs and materials. When the schools was on, we scarcely go online. But now that the schools are closed, everybody is online. And you are not only going online just for the teaching and learning, you learn other things along it. You visit so many sites, you have so many apps to get more information. And this indeed is an advantage to every one of us. And we have different learners, different facilitators. So if you are not so good with one, you have so many alternatives. Unlike in the formal school that you are only curtailed within your classroom and with your teachers. Now there are so many teachers online with so many styles of teaching, which you can make it teaching and learning fun and easy. So homeschooling, as far as I'm concerned, is a necessity now, but it's a thing that must continue. as we all know, that even post-COVID, we are not going back to the way we were.
Yeah.
We are going to move forward from where we are now and to expand on whatever we are doing. Even when the schools are opened, homeschooling will still continue. I want to assure you that. As far as in Lagos State, we have concluded that we are not going to stop whatever we are doing now, but to intensify even after school is open. Why? Because we have out of school children that can still benefit from this while others are in school. So homeschooling is one work for the parents, and will take me to the disadvantages.
Yeah.
Recently, we received petitions from parents complaining on the burden of homeschooling is expected. Parents that have relinquished all their responsibility to teachers are now carrying the responsibilities. So it's not going to be an easy thing. They just have to adjust to that situation. So homeschooling, as good as it is, as flexible as it is, as more opportunities of learning that it has provided, it also has its disadvantages. And one of it is that, you know, these children, they are unable to socialize. They are just within the four walls of their homes, particularly with the instruction that we should stay home to stay safe. So most of their interactions will be on social media, but they cannot have personal contact with their friends and loved ones in the schools, which to some extent is a bit of disadvantage.
Yeah.
Apart from that, educational instructions will be limited in the sense that, like in the four walls of the schools, you have so many teachers coming in and out to take one subject or the other. If it is online, you don't see your teacher, you don't even know your teacher, only maybe by introduction. But what is important is you receive instruction and you are taught, you learn, and which can be some disadvantage to some children, that they learn more with eye contact. Another disadvantage that I could talk about is that it's costlier, more expensive. Like I told you, we receive petition on parents complaining that they are spending so much on data to make sure that the children are online.
Yeah.
In addition to that, they must provide the devices. A parent that has 3 children that will be learning simultaneously online means must make available 3 different devices, which is at a cost to parents. Apart from that, what about the power, the cost they use on generators to make sure that the batteries are charged and the children can connect? So by the time we aggregate all these costs, it's becoming a lot of burden to parents, and they're already feeling it. So to some extent, it is a bit of disadvantage cost-wise to some parents. Apart from that, you now find out that it's more stressful for parents, because now they are carrying the burden of the teachers. They have to supervise and monitor these children 24/7 and make sure they are doing what is expected of them. As you all know, these days, they don't want these children to disturb them. They want the school to carry the problem and pay for it. There's a lot of stress for career parents, adding more to their problem, realizing that they too also are working from home.
Yeah.
Apart from that, it may not be totally effective, because some children, like I said, one of the beautiful thing is that children respect and fear their teachers more than their parents.
Mm-hmm.
So in some cases, they may not listen to their parents. If it was their school teachers, they have to obey. So these are few of the disadvantages homeschooling will find. But notwithstanding, it has come to stay.
Stay.
And since it has come to stay, I think parents must just accept the situation and see how best they make use of the opportunity to make sure that their children are not just playing out the time, but they are making useful of the time. And so I want to go to how parents can manage homeschooling in a pandemic period. Like I've said, the closure has not made parents teachers. It has made them supervisors. It has made them counselors. It has made them the head teacher and everything. So for a parent to really enjoy it, first and foremost, you as a parent must accept the situation, that this responsibility has come upon you and you must carry it. You want the best for your children. You must acknowledge the fact that you cannot run away from it, neither can you hand over that responsibility to anyone else, period. So accept it and prepare to make sure it works out and you get results. So you must try to prepare a schedule for yourself and for the church that you don't go totally on your own activities. Prepare a schedule, know the time the online programs will come on board, and make sure you have scheduled yourself, the house chores you want to do, the office work you want to do. You make sure that it does not interface with this period. And like we said, you know what is happening, particularly with social media. We need to put close attention on these children to make sure that they're actually doing online lesson and not something else. You trust the children of today. The moment you turn your back, they are busy doing something else. So it requires a lot of close supervision to make sure that these children are following the online lessons and they are grasping whatever they are being taught. So you establish a routine which includes getting up on time as if the children are going to school, preparing their breakfast, making sure they eat, and getting set even before the time they will be connected. Making sure your devices the battery is full, there is light, and all that is required to make sure that these children will not just be there playing out the time. You must also make room for the children to rest. Like in the schools, they observe break time. The same thing at home, they are grounded and groomed for this online schooling. In addition to that, you have to adjust your expectations, knowing fully well that homeschooling will not cover the much content as the regular school. So many people, the time is limited, and as such, everything cannot be taught online. So you still need to follow up with the exercises at home to back up whatever they have been taught online. You need to give them even assignments as parents to be sure that what they learned online, they understood very well. And so you need to do much more than you were doing before the lockdown. You need to give your child that opportunity to connect virtually with some friends outside the home every day, like making video calls with their friends, with other relations, to make sure that they are not totally bored at home. Because when these children are bored, they will not learn. They will be there physically, but they will not learn. So you must make sure you give allowance for them to connect socially with their friends and other relations within Nigeria and outside the country where it is necessary. You must allow your child that flexibility. In homeschooling, it gives room for creativity and flexibility, and you must allow your child to exhibit that. Don't be too rigid on them. Let them have that flexibility to make a choice and to do the work. In addition, we should not limit these children in terms of homeschooling to cognitive activities alone. We must think of the affective and psychomotor domains. And there are so many applications that provide for this. So we must encourage our children to also do all that. We talk about skill acquisition like photography, music, event planning, and so on and so forth. This is a very good opportunity for children to identify their skills, their talents, and to develop them while you are at home with them. Homeschooling has come to stay, whether we like it or not. As parents, we must accept the situation because that is what the condition of the time we are in demands, and we just have to accept it like that. COVID-19 pandemic to me is a blessing in disguise because it has fast forwarded the technological education as it should have been, which to me is very good. Homeschooling,
I've left here.
whether by
Use
parents
your name here.
or through online, must be encouraged. And we must encourage our children to key into so many programs online for them to be well-grounded and to be all-round developed. So I want to use this opportunity to even appeal to parents and to extend it to those that are not here, that we need to cooperate with our children to make sure that they make this period worthwhile and they get good results out of it. Homeschooling will not be can never be compared with regular schooling, but homeschooling is good. Homeschooling is result oriented, and that is the way forward that we are going. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Adelaja. Thank you for that presentation on homeschooling and how parents can take advantage on this. Like she said that homeschooling has come to stay. It has actually come to stay. I know that this wasn't practiced before now. Like she said also that COVID-19 is a blessing in disguise because it has brought children closer to their parents. Parents who never stayed at home to see what the children were doing. We thank God for this situation we find ourselves. I don't know if anybody has a question for her, but I want to say that if you have any question, you can simply type it on the chat. Type it on the chat. When the time comes, we'll get across to her with the question. And we're going to do so with all the speakers we have. If you have questions, you just type the question and they will be attended to. So what she said in essence that homeschooling has come to stay and there are a lot of benefits. There are also disadvantages. I just want to pick on one or two disadvantages which she said, which is actually a reality. The reality is that it is expensive, and we don't have parents. Most parents don't have the facilities. You can even, you may not even have the phone. You may not have light. You may not have data. There are so many things involved. It's actually a burden on parents, and some of these parents have lost their jobs, and it's not easy for them taking their children through. But all the same, we have come to realize that there is nothing we can do but to live with it. So we're encouraging parents to actually, take homeschooling very seriously. And also it's going to bring you closer to your children thereafter. Thank you so much, Mrs. Adelaja, the PS, that's Permanent Secretary, Lagos State Ministry of Education. Thank you so much. Like I said, I want to repeat again that if you have a question, just put it on the chat. We'll deal with it. I'm going to call on Mrs. Fumito Augusto. Mrs. Fumito Augusto is going to take us on what school leaders.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma. Need to be effective. What they need to be effective and efficient in this current type of pandemic. On the now. That is our emphasis. Mrs. Augusto, please.
Thank you. I want to share my screen.
Okay.
So, if you will allow me to share my screen.
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay. All right, let me. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to talk to us, and I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to talk to us on this platform. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to try and just go straight to the point. I have about 33 slides to share. I have about 50 minutes, I believe. So I'm going to try to cover as much of it as I possibly can. So I'm assigned to talk to us about how a school. I don't know what you can see. Whether you can see all.
You can see how school leaders implement effectively and efficiently. We can see it.
All right. So how can school leaders implement effectively and efficiently to support learning in such unprecedented times? Mm-hmm. My name is Fumito Augusto. I'm the Principal Consultant, Edcon Associates. That's the name of my practice. I'm going to, so because we're talking about school leadership, I'm going to talk a little bit about school leadership, and I'm going to talk about what the school leaders should be doing based on my own understanding and my experience. So school leadership is the most important function in school management, is the first thing that I will say. When you have a good school, you usually have a very good leadership. And this leadership would include the board, the school owner, the board, and whoever is in charge of academics and in charge of academic delivery and in charge of management of staff and all that. So leading schools in these unprecedented times involves effectively leading by directing, influencing, mentoring, motivating, teaching, training of staff to perform innovatively and efficiently. Leading people is different from managing people. That is one very word leading in itself, because the title has the word leading in it, means that we're actually looking at the manner and the approach that people use to lead. So leading people is different from managing people. It's something you should keep somewhere.
Okay.
So a forward-thinking, effective and efficient leader will do quite a number of things. They will show us what to do. They will help us think futuristically. They will encourage our innovative ideas into courageous outcomes. They will create a collective leadership environment. Now, all these things I'm saying, they are going to be broadened as we move along, because this is supposedly the outline.
Yeah.
These leaders or this leader follows rubrics of vital leadership competency skills. In other words, you'll be checking yourself. You'll be looking at yourself. When we get to elaborating, we'll talk about that. Embraces internal and external factors in the process of efficiently, effectively educating their staff. This person understands the principles of and the application of situational leadership. Situation has come, pandemic.
Exactly. Yeah.
And deliver teaching and learning effectively and efficiently themselves, either via physical or virtual learning mode. Develop self and team as lifelong learners, continuous professional development, and applies key performance indicators to measure success. Because you don't just do it, you have to be checking that you're actually doing it right and you are getting the results that you should be getting, which is part of what this forum wants to achieve with evidence. The evidence of the success. So 1, the forward-thinking, effective, and efficient leaders show us what to do. So leadership must eventually bring us an outcome of effective and efficient if we are leading. Short of that, we're drawing the people back. If you are leading and you are in leadership, it should be effective and efficient, so you are taking the people somewhere. But 21st century leaders don't boss. They lead by example. They don't say go. They say let's go. Great leaders don't tell you what to do. They show you how it's done. So how do they go about this? They initiate actions. They motivate. They provide guidance. They nurture success. They nurture for success. Because, and in this nurturing for success comes a whole load of, they don't know it, teaching experience is gained. Nobody, when I started teaching, what we did when I started teaching is not what we're doing 40 years later.
Yeah.
And of course, I can almost tell, like just now, even now, we're already aware that when, even in the next couple of months, education systems are going to change drastically. The delivery of education is going to change drastically. So the teachers that you currently have, some of them with PhDs, some of them with masters, you have to nurture them, deliver under situational leadership what is required for now. What is required for now may not be what is required for tomorrow, and what is required for now was not what we needed yesterday. Gives confidence. You don't demoralize the people and tell them all they don't know, but you lead them encouragingly, nurturing for success that they can make it. This leader coordinates the whole affairs of the institution to deliver and effectively plans. Out of the presence of the people, you plan, and then you come back, and then you lead, you guide, you initiate, you motivate, you nurture, you give confidence, you praise, you inspire. Who then is an effective and efficient leader? Is it the one that is able to lead and guide the teachers, or the one who is in charge and commands the teachers up and down, or the one who just bears a title, principal, head of school, school administrator? Titles don't lead. You can be sitting in a chair, you are leading nobody anywhere. Good leaders are on the move, both intellectually, they're thinking all the time and they're around the clock on the matter. They're not asleep. They don't switch off. When I was a head of school, I don't think there was any time that I was not in school. Whether I was at home or I was on vacation, it was always the school. Real effective and efficient leaders don't go to sleep. One who has positive influence upon their staff team, they must, or the one who has positive influence on their staff team. If you don't have positive influence on your staff team, you are not leading anybody because nobody is really following you. Forward-thinking, effective and efficient leaders think futuristically. There's no point. I mean, we talk about the 21st century education, 21st century education. 21st century education. Some of the things that we have called 21st century education are no longer even relevant within the 21st century anymore, because a pandemic has happened that is unprecedented, that nobody knew was going to happen, and we are all thrown into confusion. Unprepared. Nigeria particularly is an unprepared nation. Even though government is using, whether they are using DSTV or they are using radios, how many of the people there, the programs on radio, how many of the people do even have radios, not to talk of phones, not to talk of virtual learning? It's a long time ago that people bought radios. Most of them are now on GoTV or one thing or the other. And putting the programs on that seems even highly impossible. So thinking futuristically is part of the traits of an effective and efficient leader. Okay, so forward-looking and thinking school leaders are quick to face the reality arising and prompt in taking great responsibility for the decisions required to be made, with insight to turn the whole situation around, making it also a great opportunity for their schools and their students. So the situation has arisen. Yes, they don't have radios. Yes, they don't have the smartphones. Yes, there are 3 children in one house, and their mother has only one phone, and their father doesn't have any phone at all. And then all of them must be on your online class. The great leader still has to work it out. This is then entering into groundbreaking territory with exciting new thinking opportunities. Lifelong learners, researchers are the leaders. You can't stay there and say, oh, there is no way. They say, where there's a will, there's a way. So the challenge continues. Forward-thinking and effective, efficient leaders are innovative and courageous. They have to be courageous. In this pandemic, the schools are like in danger. We don't even know whether almost on a daily basis, you'll probably be checking your account to see whether you are making any income. And the end of the month is fast approaching, and who's going to pay the salaries? How are we going to be innovative and courageous? But innovation, courageousness is required to continue to face the pandemic and have victory over the pandemic. How? Forward-looking and thinking school leaders act courageously to guide their school teaching and learning teams through unprecedented times. In this period of time, I've heard of, I never thought that we will use WhatsApp to send lessons home. I would never have thought of using WhatsApp to send lessons home. But as I'm talking to people, while they're being innovative and looking for ways to reach parents, if it is WhatsApp, and the WhatsApp has video and it has a camera, and then you can record and you can then send the video. I said, first of all, I would have laughed, but I don't laugh anymore because it's innovation and it is unprecedented times. Such a situation is then allowed that you can use WhatsApp, that you can use any medium that is possible to just make sure the lesson gets home. But how do you measure WhatsApp is the question that I throw back to those using WhatsApp. So set a goal, make a plan, get to work, stick to it, reach your goal, and then the smile at the end of the corridor, the light at the end of the tunnel. Success will definitely ring home. So these leaders you also use curiosity, exploration, experimentation, and unearth new exciting methodologies. Because, I mean, okay, how will we reach them? There are several platforms on different virtual learning modes online. YouTube is loaded with material for you to research, self-teach, teach your staff, teach everybody. Nobody has been this way before. Everyone, just pick yourself up and start teaching yourself and start re-educating yourself to be current, to be relevant to the times. So resources, approaches for teaching and learning, new ones, all in a situation that no one had ever thought possible before. So all of a sudden, we find ourselves all in this virtual learning mechanism. Once upon a time, we will probably all think that we needed to sit in a hall rented with big cash, coffee breaks and all sorts of things to run a webinar like this. We all have to sit around and feel the coffee and sniff the tea and eat the biscuits and the crackers. But today, I mean, you know how many webinars you've attended in the last couple of weeks, and you had to make your own coffee, and it's okay. So leadership continues to be honest communication, purpose, determination, passion, listening, responsibility, commitment, and everything that goes with the word. Do we not know now that forward-looking, forward-thinking school leaders must prepare themselves for educational practices of the future, not of the past? And nobody needs to tell any teacher anymore that they need to have their own laptop. Nobody needs to tell any school owner that almost every child must have a laptop or a tablet. And that we're not going to go back to a situation, I mean, homework is probably now going to be done virtually and emailed to schools, and all sorts of assessment resources are going to be available for you to use for tests, and it's going to auto mark and all sorts of things like that. If you're not going into those systems, how are we going to do examinations? How are we going to create the reports? Soon all books will have to be on a tablet, because physical books will probably go extinct, because take Nigeria for example. A lot of our textbooks are imported. So you are probably going to have to buy subscriptions to books that are in e-copies, so that you can put them on children's tablets or whatever is required. And they may even say you can't. They may even tell you can't download it. And the earlier the publishers in Nigeria start making their books e-books, so that getting people to subscribe, they will just find themselves out of the market. We must constantly think futuristically, So of course, things which every school leadership team needs to thrive are there, and we can't finish talking about the numbers of things that there is to do to reach to reach the children of the future, because career is not going to, the career skills that are going to be required for the careers of tomorrow are not the skills that were used in our own times, as it were. They say I have 40 years teaching experience. I don't really want to count the years, but the reality of it is that what we used to do is not what they do now. And what you are doing now is not what they need for the future. So if you are not preparing the children with the skills for the future, you are not preparing the children at all. Create a collective leadership environment. The forward-thinking, effective, efficient leaders create a collective leadership experience. In other words, multiple leadership roles. What are the things that different people can do? We're not all equipped differently. But even on these virtual learning platforms, we're all gifted differently. Within you have to evaluate your staff group. Oh, this person is good at this person is good at that. Let me delegate this to this person. Let me delegate that to that person. And then, of course, we all own it. It's not a me thing, it's a we thing, and then there'll be success. And you don't take all the credit. When it's time to give someone a pat on the back, give them a good pat on the back and let them take the credit. It encourages them. So forward-looking, thinking school leaders must include a sound understanding of global issues in their understanding to be relevant to the times. Forward-looking, thinking school leaders are especially known for the way they create new, exciting strategic delivery of teaching and learning as a vehicle of education in unprecedented times like now. They must be dynamic, they must be strategic, they must find a way, even when it looks like there's no way. You must find the answers. So collective leadership, leading the schools of tomorrow. So forward-thinking, effective and efficient leaders follow vital leadership competency skill components. In other words, if you are a good leader, there are competency skills that measure what makes a good leader. That's a different topic, a whole different topic if you want to go into that. So, but then, if you are a dynamic, forward-thinking, self-taught, lifelong learner, you can go and find out the competency skill components that you need to be an effective and efficient leader. There's quite a lot of it, and then get the rubrics for it. So you can measure yourself and measure your competence and measure your performance as a person before someone comes measure you and tell you that you failed. Some school leadership steps for effectively and efficiently supporting students' learning in unprecedented times requires adaptive innovation, that is inventing for survival. It's like I said, where there is a will, there is a way. Adaptive innovation. What am I going to do? How am I going to get it? You have to create a way of getting it done. Experimental creativity. Try something. If it doesn't work, try another thing. Promptness of action. You can't, right now, in terms of promptness of action, if you already have something going on in your school, remember that the lockdown is going to be lifted one time or the other. So how are you going to have your school COVID safe? So if you are going to be innovative and you are going to be forward thinking, then by now you should be working hard to find out how your school is going to be COVID safe. How are we going to arrange the furniture? How many children, if we do social distancing inside this classroom, will fit? What is going to work? How are the children going to come in and be safe? How are the staff going to be safe? Which type of face mask should they wear? How are they going to look? Are they going to wear an Ankara face mask, their school uniform, or we're going to have school branded face mask like Sanwo-Olu with Lagos State logo on his own? Someone's going to be thinking promptness in action, influencing and shaping responses. You'll be shaping, influencing, and encouraging. Parents will be kicking back. You'll be talking back to them, and you'll be explaining good communication, shaping the responses, making sure you might be angry inside, or you'll be smiling on the outside. You just have to get it all right. Evolving situations and guidance. Guide them, teach them. Run webinars for the parents too. It's not just the teachers. Webinars for parents. Run webinars about school safety. Run webinars about using of the platforms that you have created. I know someone that told me, the head of school that told me, oh, class by class, ma. We took every class, all the parents, the ones that needed one-on-one tutoring, we took them till they understood this virtual learning thing and that they helped their children from the other end to access the platform. They were using Edmodo, and she said we took every parent to understand Edmodo. They had to. They were working weekends through the day, night, whatever the appointment the parents gave them. They did everything they needed to ensure that their parents were on the same page with them. Of course, I'm not talking about schools where, depending on the level of the parents, some parents you can carry them along. But I can tell you that there's no parent that does not want something good for their children. So you can carry them along. You can do WhatsApp calls to them. You can do whatever you need. You bring them. You carry the situation, influencing and shaping responses. Protection and sustaining quality assurance. If you decide that your school is doing virtual learning, and your teachers are all in their homes, how do you protect the image of your school and make sure that the name of your school is not dragged through the mud by poor quality delivery? So at the end of the day, you want to protect your school, you want to sustain the name of and integrity of your school and the integrity of the delivery system by ensuring that there's quality assurance. So you must do learning works. You must go into those classrooms. You must be able to drop in. They must show you the videos. You must evaluate the videos, critique the videos, and get them to improve on the videos. Then in addition, you do surveys, feedback from parents, everything that is required to make sure that you have the evidences that you are doing this right. Forward-thinking, effective and efficient school leaders embrace forward-thinking, effective and efficient leaders embrace internal and external factors in the process of efficiently and effectively conducting their teachers. There are factors that can work against or work for. There are things to consider, both internally and external factors in the process to be able to do this virtual learning situational matter properly. So implementing effectively and efficiently to support student learning. In this diagram, we have the word embrace. The embracing of the internal factors and the external factors, and of course, everything. When we're doing virtual learning, we do not, our virtual school, online learning, distant learning, whatever you call it, it still embraces all these factors that are the components of what makes you educate a student, and get the right student outcome and the school outcomes. The school vision must still continue to be shared. Cascading and articulating the vision. Through this same platform, you must continue to meet the purpose with which parents send their children to your school. Set targets and high expectations. The high expectations of parents, the things that made them send their children to your school, must continue to be maintained. So you embrace the vision and ensure that the vision is also still being delivered through this mechanism. You energize by educating the whole child. We've talked about the child physically, emotionally, intellectually, and socially. All these mechanisms must still come to play while we're doing this. So the person that is organizing virtual learning platforms and distant learning for children and students at this time must continue to embrace the vision and energize the vision and the implementation, develop the people, build a legacy of other principals or other school leaders, school-wide system structures, realize all to realize the shared vision. And of course, they must enable their staff be open to feedback from others. You can say that you can suggest things, but it's not only one-way system. You show care, you show empathy, you show respect, you demonstrate commitment, you demonstrate initiative and creativity, you know, be resilient, you know, be fair, you know, give support. You know, in the middle of all this, there'll be staff at home who are unable to teach because something happened, or because there was no light, they couldn't charge their phone overnight or whatever. All sorts of reasons why people the systems can fail. You must listen and you must try and provide support, or that you need to give internet or data allowances or whatever you enable them. You engage, you know, quality relationship with stakeholders. You find out from parents, engage with staff, what the challenges are, you know, and empower the stakeholders, you know, to by listening, find out, engage with them through the surveys, Mailchimp, Monkey survey, whatever that is required. You use to get the feedback to embrace a system that becomes effective and efficient. Forward-thinking, effective and efficient leaders understand the application of situational leadership, which is where we will really rest on the situational leadership matter. Situational leadership is a word that came up in the research of Ken Blanchard. Situational leadership is a registered trademark word on the research on leadership of Ken Blanchard. And there are different forms of leadership. I'm putting to us that in this pandemic, the type of leadership we actually need to think about is the one that is called the situational leadership. The situational leadership is an adaptive leadership style. This strategy encourages leaders to take stock of their team leaders. You want to start something new. You want to go in a new direction. You take stock of the skills in the house. There are some people in the house, in your team, on your staff, that no matter what, even on their best behavior, with their best foot put out and their best arm out, there is a limit to what they can do. You need to weigh the many variables in the workplace and choose the leadership style that best fits your goals and your circumstances. If, for example, in your school there has never been any IT information technology or information communication technology lessons taught, you can't now just suddenly wake up and start talking about virtual learning. You have to weigh what is on ground, what the skills are on ground, before you can even start talking about it. And in the words of the leadership of the theorist Ken Blanchard, in the past, a leader was a boss. In the 21st century, a leader is not a boss. Today's leaders can no longer lead solely based on positional power. I am the leader, I am the teacher, I am the head of school, I am the governor. You can't do that anymore. You have to inspire, you have to give opportunity for people to express themselves. You have to make them own the decisions. You can throw questions at them, you can make suggestions, but at the end of the day, you steer them, you facilitate them, you know, till they get it. So this particular method of leadership helps us to just do that in so many ways, like telling leaders. Situational leadership talks about telling leaders specific guidance, close supervision. That is those people that tell people what to do. That there are situations, and in a situational leadership in a pandemic, there may be a reason where you'll be telling the people what to do. That is if there is an urgency to do so. There is a situation in situational leadership as well. There is explaining and persuading. That is selling. You sell the idea to the people. You offer them an idea. You let them buy it. You don't shove it down their throat. In situational leader, there's participating, sharing and facilitating. You share and facilitate. You show them, you do a webinar, you do presentations and ideas, and then the people go with it. You know, so participating, you get them to sort of like, and then there's delegating. In some cases, you may have to delegate and let them choose what, you know, from within the skills available. I'm trying to run through the difference between situational leadership and other leadership styles. The difference between another leadership style is that situational leadership incorporates different techniques. So in a situational leadership situation, like in a pandemic, you may be doing selling today, tomorrow you might be doing facilitating, tomorrow you might be taking, you may find yourself in, depending on what's coming up, you may have to wear different types of styles of leadership. So situational leadership comes to play as the type of leadership that you need in a pandemic and all that. And all these slides, in this, I'm trying to run through now so that I don't overstretch my time. From S1, telling, to selling, to participating, to delegating. And of course, in these are all graphs from the Ken Blanchard situational leadership material. And, so in telling, guiding, and directing. So in a pandemic, any of these sort of leadership styles may play out. Selling, explaining, persuading, because when the person has a conviction that what you are trying to get them to do is the way to go, they are likely on their own, whether you are there or not, to do as you have advised. If you have been able to sell it to them and they have taken the idea and they have fully grasped it and they understand it and they have accepted it as the way to go, you don't need to do anything. The person just rolls out and does as it's required. Participating, encouraging, problem solving, delegating, observing, and monitoring. All these are supportive behavior that help relationship behavior, and it helps the tasks to be accomplished successfully. So situational leadership styles, there are also that you need insight, you need flexibility, you need trust, you need problem solving, you need to coach. So sometimes in situational leadership, the insight is yours. Sometimes the insight is not yours totally, you are flexible. But you need as a leader to get the trust of your followers so that if they trust that what you're advising is right, then they do it. Problem solving, the situational leader must be able to solve the problem. So if they come back to you, you must be able to have the answers. Today, even if you don't have the answers, you can research them online. Almost anything can be researched online. Coach the people. So forward-thinking, effective, and efficient leaders. Forward-thinking and effective and efficient leaders can deliver teaching and learning effectively and efficiently, either via physical or virtual learning mode themselves. I find today that some people are in leadership, they are sitting in school leadership, but they can't do any of the things that are required by the teachers themselves. So I admire school leaders that take a subject, that teach themselves, that take assembly, that do something themselves, because it's a way to show us how to do it. All the things, all the components and competencies that are required to deliver an outstanding lesson, the school leader themselves should be able to show their staff that they are capable as well to deliver an outstanding lesson. So what will virtual school then need? I mean, some of us are running virtual school. I'll quickly go through. A physical or a virtual school requires basically the same things. Do they need the same things? Yes, they need the same things. All the lesson must have objectives and aims. And so if you're going to start an online class and on whatever subject it is, it must still have a purpose and an aim and an objective that must be accomplished at the end of the lesson. So if you are running an unprecedented term, like this term now, we don't know what to call it, whether it is third term or unprecedented term or lockdown term, whatever it is you are running virtually, you need to have a purpose, have a calendar. We don't know the duration of the time that we're going to run it for. But we must have a diary. We must have a diary, we must have a program, we must have subject content, scheme of work, lessons. There must be direction. And then whatever the materials are that we're going to use to teach. If you will ordinarily use a blackboard, are you not going to send notes home? Are you not going to send some form of material home? So PowerPoints and slides will probably come in relevant at this time. Well, if we would not ordinarily show them videos, then we should still show videos in the virtual school. If we're like, I'm sharing my screen with you now, you can do screen sharing. Importance placed on registration and attendance. The teacher, if the sending a WhatsApp message home with a video is not as efficient, you won't know whether the child did it or did not do it. But if you are actually engaging them on a platform like Zoom or a free conferencing, where you would actually, or Google Classrooms or Microsoft Class or whatever, you will be able to mark register attendance and follow up if anybody didn't show up in class. And you can refer them to online supporting resources. You need to set assignments. You need to also do assessments, quizzes and record the marks. They will need to support. They need to send their assignments home. And then the lessons must be evaluated by the usual inspectors. That is, the people who would normally drop into a class on a learning work to find out what is going on. They should show up online. They should still drop in online. If the lessons are supposed to be virtual lessons on a platform that several lessons are going on at the same time, then it's possible to do that. The importance of testing, results, feedback, survey with parents. How are the parents finding it? And of course, I'm not saying that parents will always sing the praise of the school, but parents, the challenges they're having can come to bring the school to some form of understanding. And of course, this period of time can never be given back to any child. If we do not mark it down as some form of unprecedented term or whatever, if we don't want to call it third term, we still have to record this period of time in the academic accomplishment of our students in one way or the other. The personal strategies, and all that must come to play. Each teacher and each class, each age group of children, each class, each level, the type of learner, the personal strategy to approach them will vary. Practice and trial. In this whole thing, if you're trying something and it's not working, try something else. Study, and have the confidence to change the mechanism. Do test runs. Teachers do test runs with their students. I was talking to someone recently and I said, the end of the term is going to come, and when the end of the term comes, your graduating class, are they not? And the school head looked at me and said, virtual graduation. I said, yes, gradual graduation and virtual concerts. And of course, it's possible. It's possible. All these things, check them online, go to YouTube, find them, and implement what is required to make your school complete the cycle of all its deliverables, and all that. Mistakes. If you make a mistake, if you are self-evaluating and self-correcting, you make mistakes, then correct yourself, self-evaluate, correct yourself, and pick yourself up again and keep going. And then of course supervisors continue to supervise, reports, class evaluation, persistence, continuation, improvement until you master the system. You just keep going. And of course, where there's a will, there is a way. There are many ways. The online classroom, virtual classroom, you are required to commit to creating online classrooms, then create online classroom and resources. There are lots of ways of doing it, and there are lots of free apps and free platforms that you can use, and there are lots of YouTube videos that you can use to self-teach. Choose a subject to start with. If in the school you have many skills, each person should take their own subject. Test your classroom within your teacher groups. That is, the teachers can become the students while they practice on each other and all that. If you have a strong IT teacher, that IT teacher can take the lead to develop and train and prepare the teachers for delivery, create a scheme of work that is going to be followed meticulously, evaluate that the children are getting it, test them, and give assignments, call home, whatever it requires, match them with subject e-resources. There's practically lots of platforms online for you to get resources no matter what the topic is and all that. You don't even have to be buying something. Get PowerPoint, videos, whatever. Let the school have its own bank of branded PowerPoint templates for teachers to use to create their own materials, and then keep all these in a file. They become, because when we go back to school, those PowerPoints will become a way, teaching will go one level up, because we will now have these resources to use even to teach in the physical classroom. You know, create files for students on your computers, assignments and contact mode, whether they're going to have a code, how, you know, but whatever is required in the sphere of influence or the social status of the children will guide what is achievable. You can't go and start doing something that is over the level of the students or the economic bracket of the students that are in your school. You have to find a way of reaching them in their own sphere, in their own within their own economic bracket, so that what you are offering or trying to do is achievable. Communicate your class codes, if any. I mean, most of the platforms have class codes, particularly Edmodo and some of the other ones, ClassMojo, whatever it is. Forward-thinking, effective, and efficient leaders develop self and staff team as lifelong learners. Encouraging people to explore, encouraging your teachers to explore and find ways of improving themselves or find ways of delivering their lessons in these times, and having online virtual meetings with your teachers to deliberate on different things that they are doing, and then they can also pair up and teach each other. If someone is having a challenge doing something, oh, when I was running that, I couldn't share my screen, I don't know how to share my screen, you know, whatever it is, let them feel open to be able to tell you what their challenges are, talking freely without feeling like they're going to be judged or evaluated on that is going to help this process. So playing your part, you even as a school leader, preparing yourself and to train to be a lifelong learner. What we're going through now, most of us were not prepared for, but we're using the skills that are sort of like deposited in us, and we're using those skills to accomplish the things we need to accomplish now. And the same, and of course, I mean, these skills may not be relevant in the next 5 years with all the 4G, 5G, all sorts of things that are coming up in the internet and IT world. We may find that 3G and 4G is not going to work. Our computers are not 5G compliant, and everything's now gone 5G and all that. So develop a team of lifelong learners, people ready to change when the mechanism changes. Forward-thinking, effective, and efficient leaders. 10 is the last point. Apply key performance indicators, that is KPIs. They have, and that's one of the ways that they measure. They measure quality assurance rubrics, key performance indicators. They use these things to measure whether or not their delivery is efficient or not efficient. So So that is, in other words, key performance indicators for measuring your success. And of course, I'm going to close now and say thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Augustus. Actually, an educationist, you've taken us through long journey, all true. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying to to come out of my screen share.
Yes, the setting of KPIs is what I can assure us that most of school owners do not set KPIs, so you can't measure the delivery or sources of your teachers or their performance and all that. I think that is very key for us, even at this time. Thank you so much. If you still have questions, just put them on the chat. We will take them up in due course. Without wasting time, I want to call in Dr. Mrs. Ireremena Felix Oturomua, please. She's coming to
Orimo.
I've not really gotten baptized with this name. Dr. Mrs. Ireremena Felix Oturomua. I think I got it now. Dr. Mrs. Oturomua.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm going to take a tutorial on that.
Call her Mrs. O. We call her Mrs. O.
Okay, Mrs. O. Mrs. O is going to take us on how can education consultants, she's an educational consultant, how can consultants manage change in a pandemic and post-pandemic? How can the education consultants manage this change during the pandemic and after the pandemic?
Thank you very much. I call her Pastor Funto. And she was my boss for many years. I learned from the best.
Wow.
I learned from the best. And I always use her as one of my successful examples of collaboration. And it has been a very good relationship thus far. Straight to what I want to talk to you about today, education. And because I'm going to be, I'm talking to education consultants now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be walking between two slides, so please accept my screen as you see it. One of the things that you readily see is that if you take a look at that picture, what do you see? A bit of disorder, isn't it? You see a bit of disorder, you see things being pulled down, and this is, you get into this classroom and you're wondering, boy, what happened here? And this was the Monday morning. And this was one of the schools, I think my last school, yeah, that I headed. And the teacher immediately started taking pictures. And she sent me the pictures. I was on my way to work. And she sent me these pictures. And I was like, oh boy, on a Monday morning, are you kidding me? What are we going to do about this? She was so frustrated. She was so upset. And I said, you know what? Thank you for the pictures. That was good. That was good thinking. And I immediately said, okay, what are we going to do? So I sent her a text back and I was like, calm down. It's okay. I'm sure you can get it fixed. Just get your children out of the classroom. Tell them to give you a couple of minutes. Get someone to engage them and, you fix it up. I know it can be very frustrating when you are managing your school with another group that uses the facility. And this immediately brought to my mind that she taught well to take the picture. She taught fast to send it to me on my way to work. She was already in school. And for education consultants, you want to say to yourself, you want to ask yourself some questions. What is the problem? You have to identify the key problem of your client schools. What's the problem we have now? The pandemic. Schools are closed. Teachers continuing professional development, virtual learning, the health and safety of your staff, funding, parents, so many. In fact, after you've listened to Pastor Funto's, Mrs. Augusto's presentation, I'm sure you already know, for those of us that are school owners, for those of us that are in leadership, you already know you need help. And then the consultant is thinking, where do I fit into this? I've identified the problems, or they're humongous, as it were. Whose problem is it? Whose problem is it? Is it your problem or everybody's problem? It's everybody's problem. But one thing that you need to know as a consultant is that change is constant, is boundless, and change must happen. As an education consultant, particularly for those of us that are practitioners, it's different from when you got into education from another, you cross-migrated into education from another profession. But if you were a practitioner, you are used to, being a situational leader like Mrs. Augusto just mentioned. You are used to things happening. You have experience. And you know how to manage change. You know how to sweep into action. Because, consultants are always on the go. Always on the go. You know that you're a solution provider. So you're always thinking solutions. You have your different client schools. They have their different challenges. Some, as good as they are with online, they have management issues. They have funding issues. How are they going to get funding? They have retention issues. How are they going to am I going to retain this teacher knowing that she's not performing? Or how am I going to keep this teacher that people are already poaching? Different locations at different times. So you are always constantly on the go. So you know that even though it's everybody's problem, you are thinking, what's the solution? Is this problem solvable? Yes, it's solvable. It's everybody's problem. Everybody's also thinking, but how should you as an educational consultant be thinking? You have to think learners. Think learners. If there's anything you must take away today, think learners. As an educational consultant, that must always be front, back, side, up, down, all of your thoughts. Think learners, 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 learners. How can I ensure this problem is solved? Mrs. Augusto gave us a very good presentation on this as well. Search. Google is your friend. Search for accurate and detailed information. Do your homework well. Do your homework well. And so you ask yourself some questions. What can I learn from the past? What can I learn from the past? What happened in the past? Has this ever happened before? If it has happened before, how did they cope? When I say think learners, they are the most vulnerable. They are children. They are the future leaders for tomorrow. In March 2020, a couple of months ago, UNICEF and World Health Organization came out with a document on prevention and control for COVID-19 in schools. I dare to ask, how many of us have seen that document? How many of us, just a show of hands, how many of us have seen that document? Probably not many of us, because we have not concerned ourselves with what should work or what could work. And today, children and young people, we know that they are the leaders of tomorrow. We know that they are the agents of change. They are the ones going to become the caregivers for tomorrow, the scientists, the doctors. They need to be learning. So it's not just about their schoolwork right now. I'm also thinking, what should learners be? What should these children be really? What kind of information should they have? You begin to, challenge their thinking. I like it. I really loved it when Mrs. Augusto said you could, you could plan a concert, a virtual concert, and actually tell them to role play and dress up like a caregiver. Challenge them into a debate, put them into groups, even with your virtual class, put them into groups and let them debate. Let them have trivias. So you're providing solution. You're telling your clients, look, this is the way you should be thinking. And not everybody cannot be thinking funding about schools or the issue of homeschooling or should we reopen or should we not reopen? Our thought pattern as an educational consultant should be completely different. How do we prepare? How are we preparing the teachers and school leaders? Or how should I prepare the mindset of my school leaders and my clients that, look, education is not going to be business as usual again. We have to really think way and beyond, outside the box, way and beyond. How are we going to help these children cope with compassion, learning compassion? How are we going to, there was a video I wanted to show, but I have another one I wanted us to listen to, so it was a choice between the two because of time. And there was this video of a woman who was, just coming out, getting into another store while a gentleman was coming with his cart of, in fact, it was as if he, stripped the entire shelf of all the tissue, paper, and the woman was like, can I have some? This is my 5th store. Please, can I have some? And the woman had to teach him a lesson that, look, life is not about you alone. Always think of the next person. If I had done the same, I had the opportunity to strip the shelf last week. I did not, because I gave consideration to other people. So I think it's a lesson that you should learn, because you know what? Tomorrow you might go back there and you will not find any. Meanwhile, you did. So how are we going to teach those children this? How are we going to teach the children to build a safer and more caring community? You need to know your facts about the disease itself and how, support their ability to cope with the changes that is coming. So if this is what they did, so you will already know that children can wear masks. This was what it was many years ago. Now you're thinking, what's the background information? Where am I getting my information from? Interviews, internet, books, personal experience. One of the webinars we had recently, I said, I don't know why we're, all going haywire in Nigeria, because, for schools, why should you be, struggling or clamoring to have children back to school with this disease? We should be thinking forward. What's going to happen? How should I be planning? How should schools be planning? How should parents be planning? Mother has lost a job, father has lost his job, or now we're on one means of income. Oh, now people are beginning to know that multiple streams of income is actually the way to go. So you're beginning to sell the idea of, okay, how am I going to stagger fees, not increase fees? Or how am I going to work with my parents? So you begin to make, you as an educational consultant begin to go, it's like you go into the minds of your clients, go into the minds of parents, go into the minds of children. Don't forget, think children. If you're an educational consultant, one of the things that you must have passion for is children. Think children. So where are you getting your information from? The government, international organizations, and then the specific schools as well. Know what their problems are. It's not one box. It's not one size fit all. It's not one size fit all. You also want to look at what are the workable solutions. Like I said, as you're thinking workable solutions, think learners. And don't just have one solution. Have multiple. Because if one doesn't work, B, 2 might work, 3 might work. And if one doesn't work for school A, it might work for school B. If it doesn't work for head of school A, it might work for head of school 3. So you're thinking workable solutions, but all in all, you're also thinking learners. You're thinking learners. So once you have that done, then you want to begin to suggest solutions to the problem. This is a Taiwanese school. If you're working with schools in the remote areas, you want to tell them there are solutions. You want to provide, possible or likely solutions to them. In Denmark, they're already observing the, social distancing. Would that work for you? Would that work for school A? Would that work for school B? You're thinking. Or is it the Korean city school? What is working? What is workable? Some children here are using the face mask, they're using their mask, and some are not. I also saw funny enough, there was another school that they actually kitted the children with the full PPP. Full. Everything, the shield and everything, face mask, shield. And I was like, man, this is tough. And you could see the children very uncomfortable because there's that psychological, sense of fear that I'm all, and then there was a child with glasses, he wore his glasses, and then the shield was there, and then the face mask. So his glasses was emitting steam. So he was so uncomfortable. Does it work for everybody? No. And one thing that I learned while I was searching, solutions all over the place and trying to learn from the past was that in 1918, when the influenza, broke out in the US, in New York, the schools opened just like this, and children came up, they came with face masks. In fact, health education became a huge, advantage. They got into the health education was so huge. They started teaching people how to keep themselves clean, how to keep the environment clean, how to, like what you see here. They sanitized the classrooms and everything. But the spread increased. So what did they do? Parents began to withdraw their children from school. They reopened and they had to shut down again. So we want to learn from that. So we want to plan ahead. So you're thinking possible solutions, sanitizing the school, how often? So I remembered when we had Ebola, I was in Nigeria, and one of the things that we did was we stationed and scheduled cleaning hours every hour. Every hour. There was a cleaner that was scheduled to clean the surfaces, wipe them down every hour. When you're working with young children, you don't want to take chances. We made sure that, you want to make sure that your staff updates their health records. Even before they resume, you want to make sure that they update them. In fact, you are tracking them right now. As a school leader, you should be tracking your staff right now, teaching and non-teaching. Because if they're engaging themselves in activities, in other activities where there are a large number of people, there are tendencies that, they say like a percentage of us already are, a percentage of people are already, asymptomatic. So you don't want to, because with children, you don't want to take any chances. In New York, they took it for granted and they allowed a 4-year-old to go visit his grandma. He just was crying and they wouldn't. Of course, he got infected. You don't want that to happen. So you're scheduling cleaning hours. You're thinking, okay, How are we going to maintain social distancing? Marking the schools, you know, changing your furniture. One of the guidelines from UNICEF, for social distancing is that, just like I suggested when we had another webinar, was that you shorten your school days, even shorten the day when school starts and when school ends. That's another suggestion that one of the guidelines that they have. So you find out that there's so many things that as a consultant you can possible solutions you can offer your clients. Now, I would like you to listen to this, and I hope that we all get it and it's loud enough. Listen to this clip, this news clip, and then pick out at least 3 key information that can benefit your client schools generally and specifically.
More than 40 states have said that schools should remain closed for the remainder of the academic year. That leaves families wondering, what about next fall? State and federal authorities have started to outline plans to reopen schools as safely as possible, but as NPR's Anya Kamenetz reports, there are far more unknowns than guarantees.
Teachers and parents.
More than 40 states have said that schools should remain closed for the remainder of the academic year. That leaves families wondering, what about next fall? State and federal authorities have started to outline plans to reopen schools as safely as possible, but as NPR's Anya Kamenetz reports, there are far more unknowns than guarantees.
Teachers and parents are beyond ready for kids to go back to school. But that can't happen without answering one big question.
Is it safe and healthy for my kids?
Lily Eskelsen Garcia is the president of the National Education Association, the nation's largest educators union. And she says she's concerned not only for the health of children, but also for the health of her members. In New York City alone, more than 60 educators have reportedly died from coronavirus.
The doctors say 39 sweaty bodies in a classroom is not healthy and safe. By the way, it never was. But in this case, it might spread an infection that kills people.
Other countries that have started to open up their schools are taking measures like radically smaller class sizes, younger grades only, frequent cleaning, and strict social distancing. Denmark, for example, reopened its schools on April 15th after 4 weeks of closure. At the Copenhagen International School, there are only 5 children allowed on the playground at a time. Ida Storm Janssen, the school's communication director, says they have made up a new game to play while staying 6 feet apart.
Shadow tag, like tagging each other's shadows so they're not touching. And kids are creative. They figure out ways to do things. There is no such thing as safe reopening.
Maria Litvinova is a researcher at the Institute for Scientific Interchange in Turin, Italy. She's modeled how school closures reduce the spread of illness. She says that the hard part with COVID-19 is that many children don't become ill. But we don't know yet whether they could be spreading the disease without showing any symptoms. So without regular testing, says Litvinova, the best you can do is try to reduce the number of contacts between students.
I mean, whatever you do to make it less people together, the better it is.
In many school districts in the United States, overcrowded classrooms are the norm. Keeping students apart probably means staggering school schedules, like 1 week on, 1 week off, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, followed by Tuesday, Thursday. That, in turn, probably means continuing distance learning programs in parallel with classroom activities. Finally, schools have to be prepared to close again if and when infections rise.
There's no research to point to here. There's no best practice. This is all going to be very new.
Stephen Pruitt is with the Southern Regional Education Board, which represents 16 southern states from Delaware to Texas. They've set up a task force to help coordinate school reopening. Pruitt says the to-do list is a long one, from extending schedules into the summer to testing kids to see how much learning they've lost, and to wrapping them in extra support from mental health to services like food and housing help.
The restart is going to be critical. The idea that we can come into school in August and September and do things as we've always done it's not even feasible.
And all of this radical transformation, Pruitt says, will quite likely have to happen with less money than before because of the coronavirus-related recession and its impact on state and local budgets. Anya Kamenetz, NPR News.
Okay, so I hope you got, specific ideas of what to do and how to be thinking. One of the things that I got was that there's no best practice. Nobody has any best practice that this is what is going to work or that's what's going to work. So they've talked about 1 week on, 1 week off. They talked about how to test students to find out how well they have learned virtually. Because even if you're testing online and you're getting all the feedback and you're getting all the results, it's probably not as much as what they have learned or what they should learn. So you want to be able to measure that. You want to be able to assess that. Also, their mental health. Some of them are coming from in fact, one of the very mind-boggling things that I'm going to be talking about next week on my live chats is mental health of children. A lot of children in the US right now, there's a triple increase of sexual abuse on children. So, and that just blew my mind. I was like, wow, this is really so sad, because we're only talking about the children going to school. We're not getting in touch with these children to find out how they are doing, their well-being, even teachers, their well-being. So educate, as an education consultant, you want to really, really be thinking in that direction. So choose the best workable solution. Choose the best workable solution and test that solution. What worked? What did not work? Why did it not work? Then present the choice solution to your client school, and then consider your risk factors and what will be the possible solutions to those risk factors. Don't forget, change is boundless, change is constant, change happens. Think learners. Remember, school business is not one size fits all. So make sure you keep your clients informed. Thank you very, very much. Educare, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Irene-Emena. It's an eye-opener for consultants over here, and I'm sure that for consultants listening and also school owners, they must have taken a whole lot of things. And one of those things I'm going home with is that I should think learners. The children are critical here, and should do everything possible to make sure that these children learn. They don't just learn. You are not just interested in their learning. You're also interested in their mental health. Like what she just said, in America, what is happening? The rape cases are rising, and I'm sure also that could also happen in Nigeria too, because a lot of people are at home. A lot of things can happen, but we pray that things don't just go bad as it is. So thank you once again, Dr. Irene-Emena, for this good information and communication you've gotten across to us. I want to take some questions. I don't know if Mrs. Adelaja is taking out. I want to take some questions.
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, ma'am.
I'm still on.
Yes, ma'am. This question is actually for you. Somebody is asking, is it possible for homeschool to be included in the system, in the education system here in Nigeria?
Yes, I've already replied the person. I've already sent reply that is possible, but it cannot be substituted for attendance in classes at school after post-COVID. It will just be additional source of learning for the students. I've replied the person asked the question.
Okay. I don't know if any other person have any question.
I could just add to that. It could actually be an added advantage, because really the research is showing that some children are learning better They are discovering, so parents are discovering that their children seem to be doing better learning at home rather than learning, in the midst of other children, because they're on their own, they have more time. Some of them are really focused because they get easily distracted. So they're probably considering the possibility of, being permanent for their children for now, because of the fear of contacting the disease. So and then of course particularly because they've discovered that their children are learning better. So is it possible that we could be considering it as maybe the children will actually be registered so that they can actually do the formal standardized tests through the school, and even while learning online, but they're registered students, so making it like a formal educational platform.
Okay, Mrs. Adelaja, I think that is something that the Ministry of Education should actually look at and see how it will work out in Lagos State, and then some other states can.
That was what I said in my presentation, that even though the school, already we have some online programs, and we are going to continue and consolidate, even post-COVID. We are not going to put this. I mentioned it in my
presentation. Okay. Thank you so much, Ma.
From those that are informed to benefit from it. Yes. All I said is that Lagos State already, we want to consolidate online, to expand on it as well. Very fully well, apart from those children that are in formal school, we also have out of school children that are not in school, and they also can tap into this opportunity to learn, even though they are not in formal schools. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for all your contributions. Thank you for the presentations that we had today. They were all very educative, informative, and I'm sure that school owners will take ownership of implementing some of these things, if not all of them. Like we said earlier on, change is not easy, but of course we know it's constant. And also we know that we need to change according to the situation we find ourselves. From what Mrs. Augustus said, the situational leader is something that is someone that must give himself or herself to every situation that comes up. There's no particular style, but the person is consistent with any form of change. So for leaders, for school leaders, we must be leaders that have this style of leadership, which is the situational leadership. Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody that attended.
Ask some questions before you round up. Are you trying to round up?
Okay. Yinkama Konjola.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
And I want to say thank you to all the speakers, the two Mrs. A, Mrs. Adelaja, Mrs. O, Mrs. Oxter, and Ori. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Actually, I have a background in education, but as it is, I'm not practicing. You understand? So when I saw this, I was like, no knowledge is lost. Let me just join, hear them out. And I can tell you that I've actually benefited. What all the speakers have said, to me, is not only confined to the classroom. These are things you can actually relate to all other aspects of your life. So I said to myself, okay, I will log on and listen to this. So based on what they have said and some other things, I have a couple of questions, clarifications, suggestions, and, not in any particular order though. So the first one I want to ask, the curriculum, is it going to be sent to the parents, to one? Then, as we were just talking, I started thinking within me, what is school, or what is the formal education, whatever, or classroom education? What is it going to look like in the next 10 years? We have all found ourselves in a situation that is now called the new normal, where we just have to start changing. We just have, unfortunately, it caught everybody unawares. So where is the school, the classroom, where is it going to be in the next 10 years? Then I sat down to look back again. I said, well, I went to school, I went to nursery school, I went to primary school. It has always been within the confines of the classroom. What we've been seeing is changes, improvements. Like we were using chalk before. I don't think schools use chalk again. They use something else, electronic board and all of that. The kind of wooden chairs we were using before, they are no longer using it. So what I keep saying is improvements. So I want to ask the educationists, or the people, the panelists now, are we saying that the classroom is going to go into extinction completely, or at some point in time there will be remodification, people are going to get back to the class? But the question now is, in the next 10, 20 years, what is going to happen? This has caught everybody unawares. Are we prepared for whatever change is going to come on in the future? Then we're talking about e-learning, you use your computer and everything. I can assure you, very soon, parents, teachers, and everybody, they're going to come on to say, man, this thing has health hazard. That's when you start seeing children experiencing, what do I call it? God forbid, old age symptoms. The back, the lumbar, the eyes. Like at a point, some years back, I was doing an online course. By the time I got to module 3, I had to choose between my eyes and the course I was running online. And I can tell you that up till now, this was like about 8 years ago, I never continued with it, because I was always on the laptop and the thing started to affect my eyes seriously. So it was like, choose between your eyes or choose between the computer or the course you're running on computer. Honestly, change is inevitable, and it's a bit difficult. It might be a bit difficult. Human beings, we don't like change. So it really has to be. And this kind of change we are talking about is not a gradual change. It's just drastic, coming from nowhere, and we all have to abide. So what is the face of education looking like in the next 10, 20 years? Have we started thinking about that? Then I looked at it. I also made some points here. The classroom, there is a way. Okay, let's talk about extracurricular activities. Are we saying there's going to be an end to sporting activities, which encourages the team to work together?